Nintendo Switch 2. Where do I even begin? Well, firstly, I suppose I should say that I'm actually glad that it finally has arrived now, and that Nintendo has put it out in some limelight for people to really just take a glance at it. It's been about 8 years since the Nintendo Switch came out, nearly a decade before a new system. That's a very, very long time. And some of us fans are approaching our prime between that time period. Oh god, the Wii is 18 years old. Oh god, the Wii U is 13 years old. Am I gonna turn into dust? Oh no! Unfortunately, there are some problems with how it was presented, and I want to talk about my thoughts and initial reaction to all of this, plus some speculation and hardware specifications that I thought about when seeing this being shadow dropped suddenly. To clarify, I am only going to be tackling information that is confirmed, with some speculation sprinkled in to give my thoughts and opinions. I do not intend on covering any sort of leaked content. I'm sorry, I just don't feel comfortable with that being present on my channel. In any case, the way that the Nintendo Switch 2 was presented was, I'm just gonna say it, it felt like watching a video intended for stockholders and journalists. There was no spokesperson or really anyone talking, no humanistic vibes from the system like in the original Switch release. The fact I saw no one holding it or people playing it left a lot to be desired. It felt very hollow, and at least from my perspective, it felt with all the leaked information around Nintendo Switch 2, it felt like Nintendo just threw something up there in such a rash way to get people to stop speculating so much. And granted, I understand, but from a marketing perspective, this feels really odd and out of place for a company like Nintendo. Perhaps this was done explicitly to prevent any confusion of it being just an add-on. Nintendo might fear running into Wii U syndrome, which is totally understandable. The Wii U really hurt them, so maybe their takeaway from this is just show the system, what it looks like, and let the system speak for itself. And while it does lack a bit of the show and tell kind of feel to it, I can get behind the idea of this presentation. The logo, however, still kind of upsets me, because it's just the normal Nintendo Switch logo with a 2 right next to it. They could have made this more interesting, or at the very least, just didn't put the 2 next to the original logo. If it were up to me, I would have put the 2 between the 2 Joy-Cons, instantly making it feel new and different. And it still functions and telling people what it is, and it's symmetrical. Looking at how this is presented thus far has just felt, this is the Switch 2. It's functional. It's a console. You should buy it if you like it. Consume product. And it actively bugs me, not only just as a consumer, but as someone who enjoys Nintendo's products. But even as a graphic artist and a marketer myself, this just feels awful. All in all, the system looks great. Bigger than the original Nintendo Switch by about 15 to 20%. The back of the system has a way more efficient kickstand that could go at really low obtuse angles, which I like. The new placement of the SD card slot is no longer hindered by having to take the kickstand out just to remove the SD card, which is great. According to GameStop, Switch 2 will be using micro SD express cards, ranging from 256 gigabytes to around 512 gigabytes. That's a lot of storage to work with, not to mention that micro SD express cards function a lot like NVMe storage, which will have a lot better performance and speed akin to Valve's Steam Deck. Thankfully, they also added 2 USB-C charging ports, one on the top and one on the bottom. For those who have a Switch, we all know this was a point of contention at some point, because this would cause a lot of issues with the kickstand being unusable while charging. The Joy-Cons themselves, judging by the fluid-like sound effect, are probably hardened rubber or some sort of really soft plastic that is built to last, since it's going to be clicked in and out of the system over and over with magnets. The Joy-Cons gliding at the bottom halfway through the trailer felt like they were being used as a mouse intended for a PC environment, using the L and R and ZL buttons as your right and left click. There also seems to be 2 cameras inside the Joy-Cons, which hopefully is the case, as some games like WarioWare Get It Together and Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training for Nintendo Switch both require an IR camera to detect certain hand movements. My concern with this new potential 2-camera setup is whether it's easy to clean and won't get debris or anything that could cause damage, since the cameras look partially exposed where it's being connected to the main system. The sticks on the Joy-Cons seem to have been given a bit of an upgrade, as they appear to be Hall Effect sticks. For those who don't know what this means, it essentially means that we are less likely to have the dreaded Joy-Con drift from the original Nintendo Switch system. This was caused by dust or other particles getting inside the Joy-Con flap and causing the sensor inside to get confused, causing slight drifting in certain scenarios. The only way to relieve this problem was to either disassemble your Joy-Con and put a piece of cardboard in between the stick and the sensor to stop the malfunction, or send the Joy-Con to Nintendo directly for repairs. Not exactly great. Not to mention that Joy-Cons are still $80, and they're very expensive. Something Nintendo did learn a lesson from is that we now have proper color coding for the additional wrist straps for the Joy-Cons. No longer do we need to look at it whether or not it has the plus or minus sign, just match the color. Which for me is a welcome change, as I've seen too many people make this common mistake on the original Nintendo Switch. Some people are concerned about the new connection point for the magnet section of the Joy-Cons. This is actually where I saw a lot of people talking on social media about how the exposed pins will get damaged. Which, yes, if you deliberately attempted to damage them. We've had cartridges for a very, very long time, and those pins have been exposed for way longer. The only way the pins could ever get damaged is if you were doing it on purpose. And I doubt Nintendo would make a console like this if they didn't have faith in their own hardware specifications. Alrighty, let's move on to the first ever look at the new Mario Kart game for Nintendo Switch 2. Initially, impressive. The game looks a lot more vibrant and animated than its predecessor, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A lot of the animation, especially when looking at Mario, is really fluid. When he does a hop, his entire body moves with the motion, unlike in Mario Kart 8, where only the kart and the character jumps. One thing to note is that at the beginning of the race, there were 24 slots available instead of the normal 12, which from my understanding, I am likely to assume that this would mean we would have up to potentially 24 characters or players at any given time. That's a massive upgrade to not only the amount of players in game, but how the hardware is being used in tandem with the Nintendo Switch 2 software. Speaking of hardware, we can gauge that the Nintendo Switch 2 could be 2 or 3 times faster than the original Switch, which opens up opportunities to let developers do more with the console besides adding shinier graphics. For context, the NVIDIA Tegra X1 processor from 2015 originally used by the Switch was manufactured on a 16nm process. The rumors seem to vary on whether the Nintendo Switch 2 will use an 8nm or a 5nm manufacturing process. Simply put, the Nintendo Switch 2 should run a heck of a lot more efficiently than the Nintendo Switch 1, so it can pack more of a punch while not sacrificing battery life. More processing power means more wiggle room for NPC AI, better draw distance, better game ports, I hope, and overall, functionality. A lot of new design changes seem to have been made too. Bowser has an incredible new design that looks amazing, and a lot of the character designs like Donkey Kong and Princess Peach have also been changed. Donkey Kong seems a lot more like his original design and a mix of the new movie design, and Princess Peach has her hair down and she wears a dress instead of the motorbike outfit in Mario Kart 8. The new kart designs feel more fleshed out and fitted for the characters driving them, which I personally like. I want to bring this up briefly and say that the character designs almost feel like Super Mario Bros. Wonder art style. And yes, I do also want to make this joke. Why is Mario and Friends in Radiator Springs? Ka-chow! I certainly hope not. Oof. With the release date sometime this year, in 2025, they left us with the Nintendo Direct date of April 2nd to talk about the new system, software, and potentially some games. Then the trailer leaves us off with this, which I'm not exactly too happy with. Play Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, as well as Nintendo Switch games. Asterisk. Nintendo Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. Details will be shared on the Nintendo website at a later date. This greatly concerns me because while we have confirmed that Nintendo Switch Online and backwards compatibility is going to happen with Switch 2, this information also confirms that this may be selective, which means we can only see some of our favorite games and not all of them. Nintendo hasn't shied away from this either. Taking a look back at the Nintendo Wii's Virtual Console as an example, its biggest retro library ever, only to be dwindled in size with each new console release. If this is Nintendo's way of making us buy a newer system just to have games play in an inferior way comparatively to say what an emulator is capable of, I'm a bit on the fence to see what this may mean. I have hope that Nintendo will try to prevent their common mistakes from their past, and I understand that waiting for so long to make a new system to avoid these mistakes is important to them. Regardless, I'm putting my faith in them this time around and seeing what they have in store for us. I'm excited to see the system in action pretty soon. Only time will tell. If you got this far into the video and liked what I had to say, then feel free to subscribe, like, or even drop a comment. Whatever you think. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. Until then, see you next time. Bye-bye!